Cross the Netflix stream. I'm Ward.
And I'm Rod.
We check out Netflix and let you know what's good and what you need to see.
And what's not good and what you don't want to see.
Sometimes our episodes may include language that is considered inappropriate for children.
That'll come from me.
Sometimes the theme of movies may be inappropriate for children.
That'll come from Ward.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook across the Netflix stream. Contact us on Facebook. Let us know what you think, what you've seen, and what we should see. Go to our website to see all of our older episodes and our written reviews. Across the Netflix stream.blogspot.com. Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru. This came out in 2016. It is a Netflix original documentary. It's directed by Joe Berlinger. It stars Tony Robbins. It is not rated, but it is the equivalent of R, easily an R. So this documentary depicts a few interactions between patrons and life coach Tony Robbins. Have you ever heard of Tony Robbins?
I have not.
So apparently he's a life coach. A lot of famous people he's coached.
So, I mean, this is a real guy.
He's a real guy.
Had a life coach in real life.
Pay $5,000 and get to listen to him speak over the weekend, and he will change your life. That's his deal. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I expected to kind of pull back the curtain and for this to explain, well, how does Tony Robbins do what he does? He's not a psychologist. He didn't go to school for this. There are people that do go to school for this very thing. He didn't. He just kind of is natural, I guess. He's really good at reading people, but it never really gets into, well, how does he do it? How can he just look at somebody and pick apart their lives and figure out what they're doing wrong in their life? And there's never any guest to say, you know what, I have a doctorate in psychology and Tony Robbins is wrong, or I have a doctorate in psychology and Tony Robbins is right. It's just, it feels like it's a commercial for Tony Robbins by Tony Robbins, because all it ever says is Tony's great, and it doesn't get into how does this guy live? Because I'm curious.
So help me, is this a documentary?
It is a documentary.
Okay.
Well,
right. I mean,
it's supposed to be a documentary.
Kind of a that's what I'm saying.
I mean, in essence, it's a commercial for Tony Robbins, and it's really telling you should pay Tony $5,000 for the weekend so you can have him curse at you and yell at you.
He charges $5,000 for a weekend
per person, and that room was packed.
Well, I just read something. I was reading something here in the plot that he had in a Date with Destiny attended by over 2,500 people in Boca Raton, Florida each year.
5,000 a pop, ridiculous.
I can't even do that math. That's beyond my ability. That's $7.5 million. Is that right? Did I do that math right? 5,000 times 2,500.
I think you're right. Yeah. Wow. That's one weekend. It just.
And so wait a second. So I've got to ask a question. So I mean, give me more. What does a life coach do?
I mean, in essence, and it's almost, I mean, Tony Robbins is a big guy. Like, I almost wonder if he has some kind of disorder to where he's almost like a giant, because he towers over all these people.
Oh, so you're not saying he's like gregarious. You're saying he's actually big.
He's huge. I mean, he is gregarious, but he's huge. It's like a, what was it, Ask Ann? Was it newspaper comment like Ask Ann, whatever those things are? Right. It's like that unfolding in real life. And it'd be things like, hey, Tony, I have a real problem with my mom. She's late everywhere. And it really bothers me. It's that type of things. Like, people would write into the newspaper and say, hey, this is my problem. How do I fix it? This is what they tell Tony. And Tony's like, hey, your mom's a jerk. She's a big old jerk and she's an idiot. And why do you know what? If she's making you late, just leave her behind. Well, I can't leave her behind. She's my mom. Yes, you can leave her behind. F you, F your mom, leave her behind. And he's because he's written tons of books. And I read some reviews. I'm like, oh, you get to pay for the privilege of this giant man to curse at you. Where do I sign up? And somebody, I read some reviews in their books. They said his books are not like that at all. And one of the only things he kind of delves into is why he curses at people. And he just says that you need to get their attention. You need to snap them out of what they're used to. You need to make them uncomfortable because they won't change if they don't. But it doesn't. I wanted to see, well, how does this guy live? It just doesn't get into anything. It is pretty much just this seminar and how he sets that up. Because I did a little bit more research, and Tony Robbins was involved in a lawsuit a few years ago because he's done a lot of self-affirming, change your life type things. And he had this program called Firewalker a number of years ago where you walk on hot coals. Well, he got sued by a number of people who got severely burned by walking on hot coals. And doesn't delve into that. So there's some controversy around this guy, but this documentary have you believe that he's almost a saint. He's Tony Robbins. He's amazing. He'll change your life. And I mean, I'm not against this, but give me an opposing opinion. Have somebody that not everybody in the world can agree with him. I just thought it felt like a commercial.
Wow. So where did you see this? What was it?
Netflix. It's the original documentary they made a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So Netflix produced this.
Yeah, Netflix did it. And I mean, what the guy does.
They have a reason to produce this?
I would guess Tony took some of his $7.5 million and said, hey, make me a commercial. And again, I mean, what the guy does is neat. I mean, he he is very good at reading people on the spot and just breaking them down and telling them what's wrong with their lives. I mean, and the people love him for it. And at the same time, he'll break them down and he'll tear them down, but then he builds them right back up. And he knows that at the root, everybody wants love and affirmation. And he gives them that. I mean, he gives the people what they want. And, you could put this many people in a room and they would not share half of the secrets and, personal things they share here, but there's a giant man telling you should, and they know that that's the expectation here, so they do it. There's this group mentality there. And there's so many neat things about this, but I just felt like I was hustled. because at the end, all this tells me is Tony Robbins is great, and he deserves all of your money.
And so you didn't really learn anything about
how he does it.
Like, they didn't pull the curtain back.
Yeah, I mean, say, well, this is how I can deduce this about the people. I read their body language. When a person does this, I know that's. I mean, like, I get he does it, but the movie doesn't really tell me anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give a concrete. It's been a couple weeks since I watched this, but somebody's saying, "Oh, I have this choice to make, and I don't know what I really want to make." And Tony goes, "Well, I can tell by the way you're saying this that you really want to do this. You need to admit that to yourself." Now, it's a lot of just self-affirming stuff, but yeah, again,
I just think mentally he tosses a coin and chooses which way to push people.
Easily could be. I mean, again, I would like somebody that has a doctorate in psychology that does this stuff professionally, and just I want their thoughts on Tony Robbins, who I'm not sure Tony even went to college. Maybe he did, but I know at one point he'd said how he was a janitor, and somehow he transitioned from janitor to $1 million life coach. I mean, how do you make that jump? I wish this movie told me, because I'd be very curious,
right.
but they don't. So, with all that said, I'll rate this. We rate 1 to 5, 1 bad, 5 good. Correlate to Taylor's and chill. I'd probably give this a 2 out of 5, and that's just because I find the hook so interesting. What this guy does, I find that very interesting. But this documentary doesn't want to explain to me how he does it. It doesn't really want to go into what makes this guy Tony.
So I'll scratch that off my must-watch list.
Please do. It was disappointing, to say the least. And again, it could have been so interesting. I mean, it had everything there. But, some people piece documentaries together over a course of years. They do all these interviews. And it's like Tony Robbins like, all right, the event's about to begin. Cut the camera on. They cut it on. And they just film the event. Period. That's it. I mean, the guy's not without controversy. And
right.
it sidesteps all that. We watch movies on Netflix.
So you don't have to.